Hello, my name is Shannon Mrkich, and I'm an assistant professor in the Department of English at Westchester University. This presentation is part of the Office of Distance Education's faculty seminar. What I'm going to talk about today is planning and preparing for an online course. The first thing that faculty should consider doing is getting involved with their Westchester University Office of Distance Education. You can get CAPC certified through their Distance Education Online and Blended Faculty Development Program. For the folks who have taken this program before, it's definitely worth it to repeat the program if you haven't taken it in the last 2 to 3 years. They're constantly updating the information, and I know from personal experience that I've gained a lot of new knowledge by retaking this program. Another thing I strongly consider that you do is go to the seminars, the lunches, and attend the Friday webinars that the Office of Distance Education puts together. Here's a quick sampling of a recent email that Pat sent to us about the different offerings that they have. While you don't have to attend everything, I can tell you from experience also that these webinars in particular are super helpful. Another great source of information are Distance Education's great videos. You can find them on YouTube, and I subscribe to their channel so I get updates on the videos that are posted on a weekly basis. They're really helpful, and if you haven't looked at them recently, the updated versions show us the new, latest, and greatest ideas for distance education purposes. Also, make a date with your friendly instructional designer. Whether it's Mark, Lindsay, or Tom, these folks are here to answer your questions. They love to meet with you. They would love to talk about different pedagogical concerns or issues or solutions, as well as design, which I'll talk about in a couple of minutes. So when you're starting to put together your course, whether this is a brand new course or a course that's just going to be converted to an online format, the first thing you want to do, in my opinion, is to prepare a written plan. Now, in general, we do this all the time anyway whenever we're preparing our face-to-face courses, but if you go back to your good old syllabus and you look at not only your course goals, but how those goals play out on a week-to-week basis, that's an excellent place to start, and it'll make a lot more sense when you begin to see the course outline and course pages that I'll talk about shortly. The next thing you want to do is you want to think about how you're going to design your home page. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is at this point to talk to your instructional designers. They'll help you organize the appropriate information and figure out what should go where and why. Here are 2 quick examples of my home pages for this semester. Now, this first page that you see, this is actually my face-to-face course, and I've incorporated a lot of distance education elements into my face-to-face classes. As a matter of fact, I'm making it my personal goal to encourage people to use distance education pedagogy in their face-to-face classrooms because I think it's tremendously helpful. The second example is my online course that I'm teaching this semester. As you can see, there's not a tremendous amount of difference between the two. You'll see that my picture is the same, my basic contact information is the same. What changes is, for my pages, what goes on the right-hand side. For my face-to-face class, what I do is I upload interesting and important links to the stories and to the different things they should read, whereas for my online course, I separate the pages or the semester into weeks, and then I come up with the next level of consideration, and that's the weekly pages themselves. This is particularly important for online courses. I like to make weekly pages that are both consistent and very clear. So each week, from 1 through 16, you'll see the same information at the top, and then you can see here, there's a next section, which is the professor's message. Now you can see also that it's not necessarily put together at this point, so I repeat really important things I have to say and other stuff and so forth and so on. So it's not terribly important that you have the entire verbiage of the semester planned out in advance, but if you have the basic sketch of your weekly pages, it'll make organizing from your syllabus and then from your home page much more simple, and it'll also keep a nice sense of continuity for the students themselves. Again, I can't stress enough that instructional designers can help you with both the content and the layout of these weekly pages. Another important consideration, in my opinion, is making a personal connection with your students. One thing that people often comment to me about is, don't you miss that face-to-face interaction with your students? And I say, I actually get a lot of that. And one of the ways that I get that personal connection is that at the very beginning of the class, I set the precedent with my students that I do with them what I ask them to do. So here's a quick example. I ask my students to put together a 1-minute introduction video, and it has to be a video. and then I do it myself. So you can see I look kind of goofy sitting here in my living room putting together this video. The other thing that I ask them to do is then comment on those introduction videos, and I go through and look and comment on each of my students as well. This starts to create a sense of engagement and a sense of community with your students. Another way to make a personal connection, this is what I try to do every week, is to put up some sort of new and unique component to make a connection with my students. One thing that I do frequently is I'll substitute a video update instead of writing simply a written email or news brief. So I put together some sort of funky new video, whether it's just a slideshow presentation with some voiceover, or maybe I'll use something new that I've found. Another way to make a personal connection is when you're giving feedback to your students, you can use screen capture software. I personally use Jing software, which forces you to keep your feedback to 5 minutes or less, which makes it very accessible for the students and easy for you to put together as well. So I find that giving feedback on papers via screen capture video is a great way to make that personalized connection. Another way is to implement intelligent agents, and if you don't know what those things are, again, your instructional designers are great people to talk about. Here's a quick example of feedback via intelligent agent that goes to my students after they complete a quiz. So the title of it is Integrity is Your Middle Name. This is about common knowledge and academic integrity overall. So I can set up an automatic intelligent agent that goes to each individual student who scores a certain percentage on a quiz. So for this one, my super student scored 100%, and so I congratulated that person and kind of tried to be a little bit funny about it. I also use intelligent agents if the students do not score 100% on a quiz, maybe reminding them that they could take the quiz again. And you can use intelligent agents for an amazing selection of activities through D2L. Another important component of online teaching is time management, and I'm looking at this specifically from a professor's point of view. We ask our students to log in frequently, and we can track their progress through D2L. However, I also think it's important that professors remember that they need to log in frequently too. It's not enough for us to just log in here and there to update our pages. It's important also that we go in, I personally go on D2L several times a day, to check in on different problems or issues or different points that students may make on the discussion boards themselves. Something that I think intimidates people in terms of doing online courses is they're afraid that they'll be overwhelmed with email. And I can tell you from experience, being overwhelmed with email while teaching online courses is a real possibility. The way that I overcome this obstacle is quite simply I've set myself up to check my email very frequently. I would prefer to check my email several times a day and to not be overloaded with emails rather than telling students that I'll get back to them in 24 to 48 hours. While that's very realistic for a face-to-face class, if the main way of communicating for online students is email, all students and professors really are better off to check their email frequently or more frequently than 24 to 48 hours. I also strongly suggest that you try out the news tool. The news tool is a great way to communicate with your students. It gives them up in the upper right-hand corner a little indication that they have something waiting for them, and this is a way to set up a reminder that may also be on one of the course pages, but it further emphasizes important information. Other people use the news tool if a question is asked several times by several students, and this is a way to cover a basic content area or a suggestion without having to email individual students back. It's a very good way to get information out to students. Participation is something that's pretty close to my heart. You've probably noticed by now that it's important. I think it's important for us as online professors to engage with our students pretty closely. One of the ways that I encourage that interaction between professor and students is I actually have mandatory participation. What I do on a weekly basis is I have an expectation that students will interact with their classmates and me at least 3 times per week. And I set that up in advance, and I tell them exactly what I'm asking them to do. You can see here for this particular week, I'm asking them to comment on a classmate's discussion board or optional discussion board, which I'll show you shortly, and to participate in a chat session that we have, which is a synchronous part of my class. You can do that as an optional activity, or like I said, mandatory. Also, there are other optional types of assignments. So it's important, if you're making participation mandatory, that you give the students a variety of different activities to participate in. And that's what you'll see here on the first 4 bullets. So commenting on different projects, different readings perhaps, asking questions on specific content that we cover. But also you'll see the last bullet. This is a way, the optional assignment, to take this quiz that doesn't count as a grade, but reinforces the ideas from this particular unit in the semester. So they get extra practice. It's not mandatory, but it gives them the opportunity not just to reinforce the content, but also to get participation from it. So they're interacting with the class. Another important part of distance education, online teaching in general, I believe, is experimenting. I strongly suggest that folks sign up for different distance education organizations and blogs. And as often as you can, which I know with our busy teaching schedules won't necessarily be consistent, but read those as frequently as you can. They're usually quick, they're usually interesting, and they usually give you or spark new ways of thinking about distance ed. Specifically, I would also encourage folks to read at least one article per week on some sort of new technology or new distance education idea. So this might be something that's a little bit more formal. And again, I know our schedules are busy, but setting a goal of reading at least one article per week will keep you current in the field. The last goal that I try to implement is to try something new to me, so it doesn't have to be new or revolutionary to the world of distance education, but new to me tech or distance education idea at least 2 to 3 times a semester. It's not a huge goal, and it may be overwhelming at first, so maybe you just want to try one new one each semester. But I find trying out something new after reading the blogs or reading those articles or talking to people about distance ed, and there's so much stuff out there, that it really helps me to become a better online teacher. The last but not least, I want to talk about consistency. The research has shown clearly that students like clear directions, clear expectations, they like a course that's easy to navigate, and they want their instructor to be present. It's not that you have to comment on every discussion board, but they want to hear your voice. If possible, they want to see your face. I also strongly believe that while consistency is important on those levels, so is variety. So mix it up for your students. While you might do a slideshow overview of the week for week 3, when you go into week 4, try one of those new distance ed or technology ideas and mix it up a little bit for the students as well. So basically, consistency is important, but so is variety. I want to thank you for listening to this presentation, and if you have any questions or concerns, obviously the first place to turn is the Westchester University Office of Distance Education, but I'm happy to offer any advice or information that you might be looking for. Thanks.